Welcome to Rom Wills Money Matters. Teach financial literacy to your children. This is very important. Very important. Kids need to get that financial literacy. And because I'm going to tell you what, it's interesting that schools don't teach it. It really should be taught in schools, to be honest with you, because that's why a lot of people get in trouble. That's why you got some adults and they can be making a lot of money. They got the skill level, but then money wise, they in debt and they get in trouble. They don't know how to work their money. I'm going to tell you what, working your money is a basic tool. Now, I learned about really managing my money from my grandmother. I never took one class with it. Now, well, they ain't teach a class. I learned it from her, and she works as an accountant with the federal government. Doing accounting services. She wasn't an official accountant, but grandma knew how to make a dollar holler, and she could really manage. In fact, that's where I really learned how to manage my money, and that's very important. And that's very important with how you have to teach your children how to do that. How to teach them how to put money away, how to have a savings, how to open up a savings account, how to write a check, how to keep their checkbook balanced, how to set a budget, because I'm telling you, that's the most important. That's why a lot of people jacked up. That's why a lot of people, they look up and they're in debt, even if they're making a lot of money. That's why, especially in maybe some poor areas, you got so many check cashing places who's taking money, or so many people, so many businesses. And you can look in some poor areas, you got more businesses, and people say, well, if these people are so poor, why the businesses are here? Because these people ain't managing their money. They spending it right away. How often do people, they get that check and all of a sudden they ain't even getting food. They getting all the other stuff. In fact, during this time, President Trump just he had signed an executive order and stuff to give people the extra 400, not quite 600. But even during the 600, people were going out buying everything. They weren't saving that money. They were out there buying stuff. That wasn't managing the money. What they should have did was use whatever they could just to keep their rents paid or mortgages paid and save the rest, because it wasn't going to last. That was poor money management. Now everybody, and trust me, even this latest plan, it's going to run out at some point, and that's the thing. See, the financial literacy is like, okay, you get that money. Okay, how you going to work it? What you going to do with it? And I'm going to tell you what, I remember a real practical lesson I had in financial literacy was my senior year in college. Now, I was already on a partial scholarship, right? So, all my living expenses were paid for. But some other stuff, I needed extra money. So I had to work it. You got the student loan and everything, but I had to, didn't have to worry about the rent. But, I was in a campus-owned apartment, and that was paid for by my scholarship. But everything else, they ain't pay for the food or anything. So I had to work some stuff. I had to be very careful how I spent money. I had to really work it. It had to be tight. I had to be disciplined. I had to be very disciplined. I had to manage it. But here's the thing. I managed it to the point that by the time the last semester of my senior year came, I had the same situation, but I had managed it to the point I actually was able to give my grandmother and mother some money. I gave them some money. I was able to manage it to that point, but that's because that's where I learned it from. So I gave it back. But you have to. And in fact, I'm going to tell you what, that's why you can get some people, like you can get two people, like you can get a person, okay, let's say they making $30,000 and maybe living in, let's say you got an apartment complex. You got two people. One, they can be next door neighbors. One makes $70,000 and the other makes $30,000. Now, the one that makes $70,000, yeah, they pay the rent and everything, but they running up their credit cards, they buying extra stuff, fat crib and everything. But all of a sudden, you look up, all this stuff is being moved out on the sidewalk and everything. And you're like, wow, how that happen? Meanwhile, the person making 30,000, shoot, they manage their money well. They nowhere near it. In fact, they saving up for a house. And you be like, well, wait a minute, something ain't wrong there. The other one making more money. The other one didn't have financial literacy. Yeah, they had that extra money, but they spent it. They spent it on extra things. They got things they didn't need. They weren't smart. You know, when they went out to the store or something, they didn't like try to find sales or something. Like part of financial literacy is knowing where to spend your money, how to look for those sales. Because you get some people, they won't buy anything unless it's on sale. Like I remember, I know a gentleman makes six figures. This is when I was working in retail. He made six figures. In fact, and I mentioned him on my men's channel because I learned a lot of quote unquote game from him. He was quite the ladies' man, right? But and he made six figures. But when he would come to this department store where I was working at full time, he would come in and he would, even though he could afford it, he could buy stuff without it being on sale easily. Easily. You could tell by the car he drove, the car he had for, well, one of his girlfriends. You know, you could easily afford like just to buy the expensive stuff. That dude come right in here straight for the clearance rack. That's how he had money. He said, no, why would I spend $1,000 on a suit or 600 when I can get it for 200 plus, you know, plus it's an on sale thing. I can get it even cheap. You know, he managed his money. That's part of it. That's part of it. Knowing when to buy something, where to buy something, or I'm gonna tell you what, yeah, the where to buy something, because you know anybody who's maybe follow my Rom TV channel, you know I do a lot of videos on there with a polo shirt on. I get all my polos. I don't get it at a regular shop. I get my polos at an outlet store where as soon as you walk in, everything you can get a regular shirt just for 40% off just on GP. And then they usually have an extra sale. I come in with a coupon. So instead of spending $89.99 for a shirt, I've gotten like regular polo shirts for as low as $30. That's part of money management too. Very important. And that's part of financial literacy. Like not just saving and managing, but knowing where to spend it. Very important. But you teach that to your children. To be smarter, how to get something, how to save money, how to save up for something, where to buy stuff. Teach that to your children because, like I said, they're not teaching it in the schools. I wish they were. So anyway, to even have that financial literacy, you got to make that money. So y'all know what to do. Let's go make that money.